that is why we are still alive now. We are very grateful unto you. Thank you very much.
The rescue of the abducted teachers and pupils is, of course, a warm and cheering news. And so, to continue the conversation, we have joining us via Zoom the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who will now shed more light on these developments. Minister, sir, you're welcome, and thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me, Lani.
So it was a cheering news this evening. What happened? How were the Oriire children rescued? Nigerians are interested in knowing all that occurred that led to this successful operation.
Well, thank you once again. First and foremost, we thank God, and we're all happy. The nation is happy that these abducted pupils and their teachers have finally been rescued. 56 days of agony in the hands of these terrorists is no doubt a thing of concern to all Nigerians and indeed the international community. So we thank God that this has finally happened. What happened was that the security agencies have had these terrorists in their rather, waiting for the best. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on the armed forces, and including Mr. President, who is the commander-in-chief, and he, after reviewing the whole situation, signed off on the on their plan of action and asked them to go in and get the children out. And so we're happy that this has happened. Mr. President carefully reviewed this and asked them to take a decisive action. Now, this led to the death of about 8 of these terrorists. Of course, some of them, the capture of some of these terrorists, about 8 of them. Others were completely neutralized. A few others have escaped. But what is cheering to all Nigerians is that these children, these pupils and their teachers are finally back home. It is a coordinated effort by all security agencies, the Department of State Services, the Office of the National Security Advisor, the police, the armed forces, all of them in close coordination. What is different this time around is that intelligence is at the core of this. It's a very carefully coordinated operation, and we thank God that finally these pupils and their teachers are back home.
Right, so they are now back home and we're all happy. What next is the federal government doing for the rescued children and their families as well?
Well, you listened to the statement released by the presidency. Mr. President has directed that the federal government and the emergency services will work in close coordination with the Oyo State Government to ensure first their safety back home, and then to also take care of their situation, their welfare, and ensure that this does not happen again. The federal government will continue to monitor them, continue to monitor the situation, and whatever it needs to take. Mr. President has directed that these children should be reunited safely with their families and in close, coordination with the Oyo State Government. And Mr. President has thanked the Oyo State Government, the governor, and all those involved, the security agencies, all of them, for ensuring that this has happened successfully. So, yes, federal government will continue to monitor, and whatever it takes, as directed by Mr. President, the federal government will do to ensure that they continue to live in safety and in a situation of utmost welfare, so to say.
Victims were in captivity for almost 2 months. Now, tell us the complexity, some highlights of how complex this operation was for us to have all the victims back safely with their families.
It's indeed a very complex situation, and that is why the security agencies always tell Nigerians that they don't talk much so that they don't compromise and let out some details of this operation. They have had them within their view for a very long time, and they waited until the right moment after the clearance received by the commander-in-chief to go in and get them. They've been there for 56 days. 56 days is really a very long time for someone to be in captivity. Mr. President, that all of them are now out, and they've been reunited with their families in safety. And government, the federal government, in coordination, like I said earlier, with the Oyo State Government, will monitor and continue to be sure that they feel very safe, and every support that they need is given to them. What is different with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu government and administration is that each time this unfortunate situation happens, there is always a coordinated attempt to make sure that everyone that's abducted is taken out of captivity. It is not good when you have any Nigerian in captivity, and it's the desire of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure that whatever happens, all of us must live in safety. We must all live with our eyes, our house with our eyes duly closed, and with also doing everything possible to be, in safety. In the past, we've had situations where you have pupils or people abducted, and then it even takes a long time before government even acknowledges that. But government is always prompt to notify Nigerians when this happens, and then is also prompt to ensure that all the security agencies and the armed forces are put on alert, and they are also swing into action to make sure that there is rescue at the end of the day. This is what is different this time around, and federal government will continue to work very closely with all the subnationals, very closely with all the communities involved, with the security agencies, with the armed forces, giving them support, giving them all that they require to continue to make sure that Nigerians live in safety.
Thank you so much, Minister Sir. We say congratulations to you, to Mr. President, and of course, the government of Oyo State, as well as all Nigerians of goodwill. We're so happy that the victims have been rescued. We thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.